All right, let's get right into it. We all have these facts stored in our heads, right? Things we just know are true. But what if some of the most common ones are just completely wrong? Well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to challenge some of those big assumptions, from the ground we walk on to the very nature of reality itself. Okay, just look at this incredible image. What you're actually seeing here is a spinning neutron star thousands of light years away. But that's probably not what your brain sees first, is it? Nope. You see a hand, like a giant cosmic hand reaching out. And this is a perfect example of how our brains work. We are absolute pattern-seeking machines, always trying to find something familiar in what's basically just random noise. Yeah, there is actually a name for this. It's called pareidolia. It's the reason we see faces in clouds or a man on the moon. And, it's an amazing feature of our brains, but it also proves a really crucial point for us today. What we think we see isn't always what's really there. So with that in mind, let's put a few common beliefs to the test. We'll start right here on Earth with some classic stories from the animal kingdom that pretty much everyone accepts as fact. First up, the matador and the bull. We all know this image, right? The bull sees that bright red cape and just charges in a blind rage. Well, here's the thing. It's not true at all. Bulls and cattle in general are red-green colorblind. They can't really even see the color red. So what's making them charge? It's the movement. It's the frantic waving of the cape that triggers their defensive instincts. Oh, this one is wild. The idea of lemmings blindly following each other off a cliff to their doom, it's become a whole metaphor. But this behavior has never actually been seen in the wild. The whole thing was completely staged for a 1958 Disney film. The filmmakers literally pushed the lemmings off a cliff just to get the shot. So yeah, a piece of movie magic somehow became a biological fact. And what about the powerful alpha wolf, the dominant leader who rules the pack through strength? Yeah, another myth. See, this whole theory came from studying unrelated wolves that were forced to live together in captivity, which is a totally unnatural situation. In the wild, it's way simpler. Wolf packs are just families. The so-called leaders are just the parents guiding their own kids. There's no big violent struggle for dominance. It's just a family. So we've busted a few myths on the ground. Now, let's look up, way up, to our closest neighbor in space, the moon. The Apollo missions were this monumental achievement, but they are surrounded by myths that really just come from not quite understanding what you're looking at. This is probably the big one, right? The one you always hear. People look at the photos and say, wait a minute, there's no air on the moon, so how is that flag waving? It's a fair question, and it's the bedrock of a lot of conspiracy theories, but the answer has nothing to do with a secret Hollywood set. The solution is just some clever, simple engineering. NASA knew the flag wouldn't fly on its own, so they built it with a horizontal pole that extends along the top to hold it out. And the waving, those are just wrinkles. The flag was packed up tight for the long journey to the moon, and those are the folds you're seeing. It's not wind, it's just wrinkled fabric. Okay, here's the next big one you always hear. You see these photos with a pitch black sky, but not a single star in sight. I mean, without an atmosphere getting in the way, shouldn't the sky be filled with stars? So what's the deal? Where'd they all go? And the answer, again, is actually pretty simple. It just comes down to basic photography. The lunar surface was lit by direct, unfiltered sunlight, making it incredibly bright. So to take a good picture, the astronauts' cameras had to use a really fast shutter speed and a small aperture. Those settings are perfect for capturing a bright subject, like an astronaut in a white suit, but they're just not sensitive enough to pick up the faint, distant light of the stars. We've looked at the ground, we've looked at the sky, now we're going even deeper, into this strange, invisible world that, believe it or not, powers our entire modern society. I'm talking, of course, about quantum physics. Now, when most people hear the words quantum physics, their eyes kind of glaze over. They think of these bizarre, confusing ideas that have absolutely no connection to the real world. A very common myth is that it's just this abstract playground for physicists, with no practical use. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. The reality is, you are living a quantum life every single day. Those weird, counterintuitive rules about how tiny little atoms and electrons behave, they are the very foundation of almost all of our modern technology. Seriously, just think about it. The laser that reads a disk, the MRI machine that can see inside your body, the LED lights in your house, the flash memory in your smartphone, all of it.
right down to the transistor, which is the tiny building block of every single computer chip on Earth. None of these would even be possible if we hadn't figured out the secrets of the quantum world.
Okay, we started with seeing hands in nebulas. We debunked myths about animals and space travel. Now, we're going to tackle the biggest misconception of them all, the very nature of the universe. Are we really living in reality, or could we be living in something else entirely?
This brings us to the simulation hypothesis. It's this wild, mind-bending idea that used to be just science fiction, but has actually become a serious topic of discussion. The argument kind of goes like this. If any civilization ever could create a perfect simulation of reality, they'd probably create tons of them. So just by the numbers, it's statistically way more likely that we're in one of the many simulations than in the one true original reality.
But a recent study from UBC Okanagan throws some serious cold water on this idea. The researchers argue that the universe has a fundamental quality that just cannot be simulated. As the famous physicist Dr. Lawrence Krauss, who was part of the study, puts it, reality requires something deeper, something called non-algorithmic understanding.
Okay, let's break this down. Think of it this way. Step 1. Any computer simulation, no matter how ridiculously complex, has to follow a pre-written set of rules. It has to follow an algorithm, like a recipe. Step 2. But according to these researchers, our physical reality has aspects that are more like creativity or genuine insight, things that can't just be boiled down to following instructions. That's the non-algorithmic part. So, step 3, the conclusion, if reality contains this unprogrammable element and a simulation must be programmable, well then it follows that our universe cannot be a computer simulation.
So from bulls being blind to the color red, all the way to the universe not being a computer program, it's pretty clear that our common knowledge can often be, well, wrong. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What widely held belief that we all accept today will be the debunked myth of tomorrow?